Dragon Riders, Kaze no Kaeru, by Night Dragon 0. Firestorm's perspective. Lugia! I cried as the legendary bird plunged into the raging river below. No! That was the second friend I'd lost today. I won't lose anyone else! My mind screamed. Dracia threw me to the ground as several large rocks went flying. Lugia's storm is out of control! She yelled over the howling of the wind. I have to stop it, I muttered. But how? The ground in front of my feet began to glow. I gasped as a stone tablet burst out from under it. Something I hadn't seen in a while. A sacred skill imbued in the rock. Instinctively, I reached out to grab it. I cried out as the energy flowed into my body. We must combine the 3 grand attacks of fire, ice, and lightning, I shouted as the phrase came into my mind. Thunder, fire blast, and blizzard, Sarah concluded. I can provide the thunder. That blizzard's my part, Dracia nodded. Then, all together! It was strange seeing 2 humans throwing off Pokemon attacks, but together with Dracia's, the techniques combined into a new triple technique. Trinity Burst! Contrary to the 3 attacks that made it up, this new sacred skill was a normal type move. They melded into a thick rainbow-colored beam that flew up into the stormy sky. A bright light flashed as the clouds began to disperse. When the clouds finally cleared, the sun shone brightly down again, unfortunately only to reveal the aftermath of the battle. Like any war, there were wounded and casualties. Sarah and Dracia immediately took control of the situation, helping to treat the injured and organize search parties. I, however, stood staring on the ground for a long while. Then I took my frustration out on the only thing I could, the mountainside. Dracia's perspective. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Firestorm pounded the stone wall with his fists. Why? Why? Damn you all! You bloody fuckers! I had been helping to organize the searches, but I couldn't stand his screaming any longer. I slapped him. What the fuck was that for? To bring you to your senses, you fool! All this swearing in the world won't help Jade now! I roared. Then I lowered my voice, panting. I'm sorry. The aftermath of the battle was a truly bittersweet one. We had won and destroyed all the SF helicopters except one. We'd suffered losses too. Many Charizard had been injured or killed. Ogwell, or Lugia, was nowhere to be found. Jade had been kidnapped by the SFs, and Lisa's tragedy was just... I couldn't find a word for it. Lisa was still there, crying over Teresa's lifeless body that we'd wrapped in a white cloth. I was about to approach when Firestorm stopped me, indicating that he would do it instead. Lisa, he said softly, even saying that I'm sorry won't change anything. I don't expect you to forgive me. Perhaps if we told you everything from the start and hadn't been so stupid to come here, then... No, Lisa said firmly, wiping the tears from her eyes. Teresa believed in you, and so do I. You're not to blame for anything. Truthfully, we should be the ones thanking you. If not, we would all be dead now. Lisa, you see, there's something we didn't tell you either. Some people claiming to be from a private research company had previously wanted to set up a research center in this valley. Of course, since this is a sacred ground, my aunt refused, greatly angering them. Those who are the same soldiers that attacked today. I recognized this symbol, but I never thought they would resort to something like... She hugged Storm and burst into tears again. Didn't you report it to the officials? Aunt didn't see a need for it. I see, I nodded, stepping towards the pair. Now there's even a greater reason to fight them. No matter what, they were here partially because of us too, Firestorm whispered. It's our fault too. It's not, the now human Sarah came towards us. Didn't you hear what Teresa told you at the start? Yeah, we've tried and maybe we've made some mistakes, but now we have to keep moving on, Mirage added in. Now it's for Jade's sake too. Thank you all, Firestorm managed to smile. Now we have some details to fill up. Serac? Yes, you want to know about Lugia and myself, Serac explained. I really am human as you see me now. I lived in the Orange Archipelago until the day I was out to sea and a huge thunderstorm brewed up. I was tossed off my boat and swallowed up by the waves. And then, I asked, I awoke underwater facing him, Lugia. I was really scared and confused at first, but he slowly explained to me about how he'd sensed a great disturbance in the balance of nature. He desired to check up on it, but he couldn't leave his realm in his true form and needed to borrow mine. It was the only way he could use his powers in such a manner without upsetting the spiritual forces. And so, you became a Vaporeon, a Pokemon, and him a human by taking each other's places? I concluded. If you put it that way, yes. We spent a while helping each other adapt to our new forms, and he took on many of my human traits. Besides, none of you ever noticed how Ogle is Logia spelled backwards. Man, I didn't see that. Firestorm put a hand to his head. Geez, and it was rather simple too, Mirage sighed. Well, I was never very good at coming up with names. Anyway, it was tough at first, but we soon became really close. We journeyed to where he sensed the disturbance, and that was how we met up with you. I see, Firestorm nodded. I still felt as if there was some link between us, Serac said, closing her eyes. Even now, I get the feeling he's all right, back in there amongst the deep blue sea, recovering. Remember, we couldn't find him anywhere when we searched, I said. Perhaps he's had enough strength left to teleport back? I felt so too. However, Lucia won't be able to help you now, Serac said sadly, which is why I wish I could carry on what he intended. I was sure I drowned back in the storm, but Lucia brought me back, and somehow I had the ability to throw thunder attacks around. Besides, I can't stand around and do nothing with those SFs around. I want to come along too, Lisa said, standing up. No! Everyone protested at once. You're needed here, Firestorm told her. Much more now than ever. You have a duty here to carry out what Teresa has done. I understand, Lisa nodded. I also realize that you have noble intentions no matter what. You're so much like the great dragon in the stories that created this valley. Wait a minute, what story? I asked. Oh, there was an old legend during a great battle in ancient times. A dragon with a heart of gold was struck a mortal blow by her enemies. This valley was supposed to have been where she landed and died, but they say her spirit lives on and protects the valley even today, but it's just a story. They say there's a bit of truth in every legend, Storm spoke. That sacred skill was hidden here. It must have been one of the legendary dragons of light who died in the war, Mirage said. Could it have been the normal elemental dragon Grix told us about? It's quite possible, I replied. Then we've been truly blessed to have met the legend's descendant, Lisa smiled. Charla, with her left wing and shoulder in bandages, roared in agreement. Only now we have no idea where to go, I commented. Actually we do, Serac said, holding up the small tracking device. Remember this? With some equipment, I could rewire it to work in reverse, so we can track them instead. Sounds like a plan, Storm nodded. Lisa, I also have to ask you to keep our story to yourself, out of the public's view. There's no telling what might happen if the world found out. Yes, you have my word on it, Lisa said firmly. Then you'll be heading off? Yes, the sooner the better, Storm replied, shaking his head. I'll come back someday to see how you're doing. I assure you, this'll be a better place than ever when you do. Right, guys? The other Charizard in the valley responded by firing off their flamethrowers. And so, our party said our farewells and departed. Kyle's perspective. Silph are also our enemies? Hazuki was asking. Yeah, seems like it, Night Slice nodded. Although I'm not too sure of the details. But we've got even more problems now. If you ask me, it's making my head spin, I sighed. Maybe I should have stuck to thinking like a Lapras. Both them and the Pokemon were riding my back down a river. Riptide was swimming beside me in the water. Having gotten out of town, we'd spend a few days on traveling the river, heading towards some old ruins Night Slice wanted to explore. It wasn't officially marked on the maps, but Night Slice had done some research, both around town and on the internet. He seemed confident about where we were going, and naturally, we followed our fearless leader. This river was supposed to lead to a series of underground caves beneath a remote mountain, known as Senkrad. It's hard to ignore it when you're a human at heart, Hazuki said, brushing my neck. Yeah, I muttered. But don't bother, I'm fine as I am now. It was actually kind of fun knocking all those people down. I can imagine, Hazuki giggled. Night Slice, you were really cool with those moves too. I walked past a video shop showing scenes of the Matrix, he replied. You can say I was inspired. Guys, looks like there's a cave ahead, Luminar barked. Indeed, the river led right down to it, and that was where I had to go. I hate caves, I whispered to myself.